other parts of the world, a drone means something else, but here it means you just got your order of, toothpaste. Pretty disturbing. Sorry.
It was cool to be able to get those out of print books. I just got the Bernard Leach book.
Oh yeah. So
It's
back.
a print book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Clary Ilian was a Leach apprentice, right? So she studied with Bernard Leach, and she wrote this book called The Potter's Workbook that's based on the Potter's book.
Yeah.
It was the Pottery Bible in the 50s, right? Or the 60s or whenever it was.
It's old.
It's old. It's old, but it's, there's still like things that are right in it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of dogma.
Yeah.
But Clary, I got lucky going to school in Kansas City. Is the first semester I was there, one of the professors, George Timmock, was on sabbatical, and Clary was our guest teacher. So she was like my first beginning pottery teacher. And that was really fortunate because she's a really good beginning pottery teacher. The basics, it was all about the basics. Structure, the structure of the pot, like how that clay wall works, the corner. God, I used to yell about the corner all the time. Remember that, Al? Got to get that corner on the inside of a cylinder. And a bowl, there's two fundamental shapes. There's a cylinder and there's a bowl. And they all come from those two things, right? So you got to get those two things down. So Clary, when she was working in Kansas City, she had a little studio. It was off campus, but we could go over and see what she was doing. And she was making porcelain, really beautiful porcelain pitchers. She makes quite a bit of stoneware stuff. Actually, she's doing a lot of earthenware now too. This is driving me crazy. I don't know about you guys, but it's driving me crazy. I'm gonna just let it sit for a while. And she talked about the silhouette of the pot a lot, and how lines move through the form. And pitchers are really, they're one of the pots that really play with that, I think, more than some of the other forms. Just the line that happens coming out of the spout and comes that round into the handle, back into the belly of the pot. So she would talk about that a lot. And I always think about her with making pictures.
How old was she when you studied with her, Josh?
She was probably in her 50s, maybe 85, so that was 20 years ago. That's about right. Yeah, she was in her 50s.
That's almost 30 years ago. 85 is almost 30 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
40s. I think she's 70. I think she's 70, in her 70s now. She's still making pots, but she switched to earthenware. She downsized, got rid of her pottery. She used to have a salt kiln.
Does that mean they need brushes?
No, this is what the Brents do. The old Brents just are noisy like this. Doesn't need new brushes. It's just a noise. They changed it. The new ones don't do this, but the old ones have always done this. Even right out of the box with new brushes.
I thought it was quiet compared to mine.
Yeah, see?
Well, I complained to Chip about mine forever.
Did you get new brushes? And did it change it?
Uh-huh.
Really? Oh, you should get some new brushes. No, so yeah, Clary was a great teacher for a beginning pottery teacher. I mean, she's a great teacher, period, I think, but she was really good for beginning pottery. And then I got my it's not my second. My life has just been one luck story, good luck story after the other. It's just the way it is. Like I said, somebody's got to do it. Well, I'm happy to do it.
Francis didn't teach you how to throw?
No. No, she taught me everything else, though. No, but Jeff Astrike was a visiting instructor, too. And he was another leech potter, too. He had apprenticed at the leech pottery. And there's a whole gang of those guys who came back and spread the word. They were like the disciples. And I got to work with two of them. So I always thought I was a leech potter twice removed. Like that. Yeah, Francis was, Francis and Jesse they were kind of like, life teachers, because they were kind of part of the family all the time. Never got to really work with her. I went and dug clay with her one time though. That was pretty cool. Up to the dump, living in Lewistown. It was this great.
Did she ever take you to Bear Canyon?
No, never went to Bear Canyon with her. No. Only with you, Al.
I was there with Frank Whitney.
Oh, he was a good potter. Yeah, there's a canyon near Bozeman called Bear Canyon that I was just talking about, where there's a really good vein of earthenware clay. It's really nice stuff. I mean, it's straight out of the ground. You can just screen it and throw right. It's beautiful stuff, and it's got beautiful color, but it's got quite a bit of lime in it too. There's a fair bit of lime in there. Remember last night I was talking about the guy in Italy who works with the earthenware clay that's got a lot of lime in it, and right when they take it out of the kiln, like maybe not when it's hot, but when it's warm, they soak it in water, and that dissolves the lime basically. It sort of dissolves the edges of the lime, because if you leave it in there and it absorbs water out of the air, and it'll pop out, right? So that's a way you can solve pop outs. And I'd never heard of that before, but they do a sort of a matter-of-fact thing for this, it's part of their process. Because the clay's right there, it's the whole back, the mountainside is all clay. So they've been doing that since the, 1500s, or even probably before that. But, and then I was telling one of my teachers, John Gill, about that. He said, "Oh yeah, that's what we do. With Andrea Gill, who makes big earthenware vessels, and they routinely do that because she's had problems with pop outs. And as soon as it comes out of the kiln, when it's still warm almost, they just soak it in water, and any lime that's in there, it just softens, like it dissolves the edge of it, so that it doesn't." When it expands, it doesn't pop out. Genius. It's really simple. Really simple.
Are you doing it on the pots that you make from there?
With Bear Canyon pots, I'm going to start doing that. I haven't really been working with that stuff that much. And I've had some problems with pop outs there, but not that much. If you screen it, if you screen it down fine enough, it seems to do just fine. And it's pretty clay. It's really nice. Yeah. We've been working with one other clay from over in Lewistown. That there's a company in Canada that's called Plainsman Clay. Anybody ever hear of Plainsman Clay? So they make a couple of clay bodies that the Bray does, and I showed some pictures of it last night actually. And Tony Hanson's there. Genius. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's computer dude.
Yeah. Yeah. He's something else. There's a program called Digital Fire and insight.
Yeah, and then I use their database all the time.
Yeah.
For profit and things. So.
Yeah, it's a good one.
free. Except for the
Yeah. So Plainsman Clay he's the consultant for them, pretty much, and they source all their material from a big pit in Saskatchewan that's really close there. Except for they do get some clays down in Montana, like they dig clay in Lewistown, Montana, truck it all the way back up over the border, process it there, and then sell it back to us. It's pretty funny. It's called M2.
Do you use the Ravens Crag and the Alberta stuff?
Yeah, I use that stuff quite a bit. Yeah, it's nice stuff. Yeah. But last time they were digging the M2 clay, I just had happened to be in Medalta at the Medalta Center, which is up in Medicine Hat, for a residency that summer, and was talking to these guys, and they said, "Yeah, we're digging it this summer. Like every 5 years, they dig like 40 semi loads, and then bring it all up at once and process it." And so I said, "Well, could we get a dump truck load of it?" They said, "Oh yeah, if you come over at the right time and we just get in line and we'll fill your truck up." And so we got a dump truck load of it for our grad students, and just out by our grad studio, we just have all these big piles of clay, of different kinds of clays, because we got some of that, and then there's another clay from, there's a clay pit near Bozeman called Carbwell, right by Carbwell, which is by Whitehall. And they used to get some clay for the Bray Brick Yard from there. We got a load of that stuff in a dump truck, the guy comes and dumps. That's a lot of material. That's great. And then we have another one from Dillon. There's an area down by Dillon that's called Red Butte. You look out across the sagebrush, and it's this, like somebody took a knife and just cut this line in the earth, and it's that red. It's the color of your sweatshirt. It's so bright red. It's really beautiful. It's nice. So we got a load of that stuff too. So we have all these piles of material out there.
Is the cardwell two-tone?
What?
Is the cardwell clay two-tone?
Two-tone?
Yes, is the white and red one?
Yeah, it's a little bit white and red. Yeah. But that one's, and that one's really nice in the right clay body too. So then, that becomes a resource for students to try different variations of clay bodies and stuff. So, a lot of people are using the M2 clay now quite a bit. It's much more beautiful than red art. Red art's about the ugliest clay in the world. Especially if Archie Bray makes it. God, that's the worst clay body. And they're still making it. We've been trying to get rid of that thing for 20 years now.
Do they dig that out of somewhere near Helena?
What, red art?
Yeah.
No, it comes from Walmart out in Ohio. I'm not sure where the Cedar Heights mine is. Anybody know?
I think it is
It's either Ohio or Tennessee or something like that. Gold art and red art.
You used to wear their t-shirts.
Yeah. It's it's been sort of the industry standard for decades, it seems like, as long as I've been around.
You guys, where's Bear Canyon? Which direction is that?
It's one over from Highlight.
bottom of the pass going to Livingston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, bottom of the pass, going to Livingston.
On the right side, south side.
On the south side.
Real near Birdhouse 31.
Well, now Birdhouse 31, that's another story, right? There's another slip clay that we got up there. I brought an example of it. It comes from that same cobalt blue that Rick Pope's mine. But there's a slip glaze called Trail Creek. There's an area called Trail Creek outside of Bozeman, between Bozeman and Helena. And for years, people like Francis Senska and Frank Whitney and all these old potters from around Bozeman, Trail Creek was stock material for, that was basis of all these different glazes. And so we use that a lot now too. We've got some killer Trail Creek.
comes
glazes.
beautiful in wood.
God, it's gorgeous. Yeah, it's really good in gas reduction. It's best. I mean, the variation of it we have now is really, you know, like those crystals that you had on that vase at Catherine's place. It's like that.
Yeah,
Like it just it gets these really nice calcium crystals, and it's really beautiful.
Ken used to take Mom and Jane Hibbert out to dig somewhere, but I don't know where he took them, but
Yeah,
they dug their own clay.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure they did. Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, what's funny about that stuff now is that, you know, like my interest is, now the interest is because it's sort of a reaction to the convenience of, you know, I mean, I'd much rather just get it out of a bag like this. This is
Walmart.
10 times easier. And it works good too, like it's all processed, you know. Somebody who's a lot smarter than I am did the processing for it and figured out the clay body, right? And I can just do this, you know, that's great. But there's something that gets lost with not knowing that information. So I think it's, you know, we make everybody make their own clay. We still do that, Al.
Oh, good. I hate for people to miss out on that.
I know.
Is the old dough mixer still working?
God's doing great. Doing great. It's better than ever. Yeah. That squeak has refined itself, and it's even better.
You guys mix all your own clay in Rexburg there, don't you?
About half and half.
He used to mix it for all kinds of people in the region. So
Yeah.
it got out of hand, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, there's only, I mean, after you spend a lot of time like collecting clay and then processing it and doing all this stuff, and then you start asking questions like, where do you want to spend your time?
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
which battle do you want to fight, or you know, where do you want to put your energy? I mean, and I think that like our one graduate student, Dave Peters, who's like dedicated his life to that pretty much, and all of his work, and it's beautiful the results that are coming out of that. But God, it's taken him forever to get to that point where he understands it like nobody I've ever encountered.
Has he graduated yet?
Maybe in a couple of years. I think. No, he's done. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much it. I'd really like to get into digging around here and working on, you know, exploring our own materials, but gotta find the time.
Well, and it's also, you know, I think the thing about using it as a clay body and using it as glaze material is a really different question.
Thing,
You
yep.
know?
Yep.
And I've always been a little bit more interested in as a glaze material. You know? Although I don't know. I mean, I've spent some time working on earthenware pots with Bear Canyon clay, and I like it. You know, I like working that way. It's nice. If I ever use earthenware, I want to use a local clay because they're just so much nicer. I mean, we don't have a good earthenware clay that we can buy.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty bad material. And I can freely say that because I'm on the board. But that stuff sucks.
You don't like Eric's clay?
You use that? No.
I tried the ABFE and it's like, no.
Isn't that awful?
I like the ABFO.
ABFO is pretty nice, isn't it? Yeah.
I grew up with Eric Van Eymer.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we
You
lived one street over from each other since we were like 8 years old.
Goodness. In San Diego? Or
Huntington Beach.
Huntington
Huntington
Beach.
Beach.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good. You stay in touch with him?
Yeah.
How many kids he have now? He's like a factory up
2 or
there.
3. 3. There's 3.
Yeah, he was in school right 1 year ahead of me, Alfred. He used to walk by his studio and he'd just be sitting there like he wouldn't be moving at all. He'd just be like, and he had this command center, you know, he had like all this stuff perfectly organized and be like,
He's still like that.
he's still like that,
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
I feel bad. I was so mean to him.
Does he ever come down and go skiing?
No. They tell him to. He snowboards, but
He's really good
he's
at
into
it.
kite snowboarding now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like with
Yeah, he's a good guy. I like him.
Super cool guy.
Great guy. And he's a really good, I mean, he's an amazing artist. Amazing artist. Let's see. Oh, that's cool. I use one of these every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
To put that little line in there down there, it's really deliberate. So I can, that's where my handle will go. Sort of setting it up for the handle. So this one I'm going to make a spout here. Let's see here. Where's the spout going to go? So this tells me, right? I'm going to have the handle right here. So that means the spout's got to be on the other side. God, I love simple answers like that. That's what I hate about art. It's like, there's never a right or wrong. That's why it's so good for us. Art? Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Like we try and get people from the sciences, you know, come in and they know that too. I mean, there's always more than one answer, I think, about it. But it's amazing how, you know, we all want that. We all want, like, we don't want it to be gray.
Right answers.
You know, you want it to be either like this or like this, and it never is. You know, it's so frustrating. But I think that,
You kind of know when it's art too, though. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
well, yeah, I mean, you have it, yeah, but exactly how that got there is really
Yeah.
a mystery still, right? Or even why sometimes it moves us the way it does, right? All right, I'm going to plant my fingers here and take and you know, you can make spouts a lot of different ways, right? There's a lot of different approaches to it, but this is the technique I've kind of landed on. I always think about spouts being kind of like an ornament. I like that idea of it being sort of an ornamental element. It's ornamental, but it serves a function too. But it's a moment on the form where your skill or your finesse with the sense of touch about the material, like it's a place where you can kind of work that and celebrate that a little bit.
Josh, do you worry about a dripless pour?
I don't, no.
Thank you.
I'll let somebody else worry about that. Put a little bit of butter on there if you want. The butter will keep it from dripping. But no, you know, it's actually, I do worry about it a little bit. I think that the edge, it's an edge. You know, you need a sharp edge on there. I think that's the key to
Yeah, I
it,
suppose
really.
that's right.
But a sharp edge chips in the sink. So
Then you got
you know,
this.
you have to find that happy medium in between it. So part of the idea about this
Beautiful,
lip
yes.
like this is that it's gonna allow me to do some other things with this later, but it also kind of creates some mass so that sharp edge isn't hung out to dry out here, so it's got a little bit of protection underneath there. So that's a happy accident. I didn't make it because of that, but it does kind of form it that way a little bit. So the other thing too, you probably noticed is that I leave these things attached to a bat too, because I'm going to put them back on the wheel and work on them a little bit more too. And trim them a little bit. I'll trim these on the outside. And this one's got a, this is one of my favorite tools. Everybody have one of these? Sponge on a stick? I used to always have to borrow Al's.
My new favorite tool is that bull's tongue.
It's a what?
Is that bull's tongue?
Oh, really? Yeah, for the inside of bowls.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks so cool too. That thing is beautiful.
Tools have to be aesthetically pleasing.
Okay, let's make a couple more things. Maybe I should put the fan on these things.
Okay. Thank you. And just bring it over. I don't know where we should put it in here. How should we do that? Or should we aim
Let's
it
do
this
it.
way?
Yeah, maybe,
I'm gonna let you do it.
I guess I'm gonna grab the other extension cord.
this will be okay. Can you guys handle this? Sorry, it's gonna be right in the way.
Oh, are you plugged in this?
I am, but I can come off if you need.
Yeah, I don't know if I have another extension cord. I have the two.
Here, we can make this work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
This one's ready for something. I know everybody's rear ends are getting tired by now.
What's it?
Isn't that just fabulous?
But we're not done yet.
Start working the wheel on it.
What do you think of the driving plan? What do you want?
I think you can just set it right there. Yeah, thanks, sir. Okay, with this one, this is a different darting move here. I'm gonna just cut this underneath the lip here. Because a lot of times when I'm making these pictures, I'm making both, not both kinds, but I think that let's see. The elevation of that kind of spout always makes me want to elevate this one too. So what I'm going to do here is sort of sneakily cut underneath that line, and I'm going to cut just a little sliver out of the back of this. That's going to just let me drop that back down a little bit, so it just changes the stance of it again a little bit.
Wow. Is that?
I think, all these different, I always think about it sort of like a bag of tricks. You have you kind of learn these different techniques and things that you can use for making stuff, but you always want to be, you don't have to use them on everything all the time. Just remember that, like, you don't want it to just become about the technique with it. And so, you kind of work on an idea and then you use that for a while and then you kind of drop it and just, you've got it. You just pull it out and use it when you need to. Darting, I used to like to dart like everything 10 times. As many times as I could. Change it all the time, but now it's like, I just try to think about where it's most effective for a form. You know, it feels like it works well on that picture form. And then this one, this feels like, you know, I'm gonna put a handle out here, right? So I'm gonna change that shape right there. And I'm just gonna cut a little bit of line out of here. So this is a different kind of darting here. Fold that over. And then cut through the top on this one. I just kind of cave that in, cup it in there a little bit. But it starts to change that shape a lot more, and then it sort of makes a logical spot for a handle too, right? So then this cut here is like this. I go in and cut it at an angle, like this, straight down. So I'm cutting through both of those clay walls. From point to point there, and you don't get very much out of that.
An angle this way, or?
Well, it was like this.
Okay.
You know, instead of being like this, it's like
Yeah,
this.
gotcha.
Okay. And that came out of the inside.
Josh, have you met Tim yet?
Oh yeah.
It's when you get the smoke. I get the feeling Josh wants to come back tomorrow and do stuff.
What? You're reading that wrong. I mean, it's a nice view and everything. People are nice.
They can't refeed you. Come on. What more do you want?
Sometimes you need a little tool on the inside. So these seams on this pictures, notice that the seam is right behind the handle. So that's pretty handy because it just will hide that.
It's a good pun.
Yeah.
Got a little clay separation up here, we call it. It's code for crack. This is your brain on crack. Okay. Alright, so now it looks like a duck. Talks like a duck.
Must be.
Time for a handle on that. Oh, beautiful. It's amazing what a fan will do.
Do you wish that were warm, Josh?
What's that?
Do you wish that were warm? Do you want some warm?
Do, yes.
I'm very proud of this thing. I can't believe it stays hot. It's not getting too bouncy.
Oh, it's perfect. Gives you something to chew on. Okay, let's do a handle on this. With one finger each.
Yep. Yeah, so they good feel.
Yeah, that mountain's still out there. It's still there.
I can't believe it.
Golly.
So Josh is going skiing tomorrow. Haven't been skiing in what, 2 years, did you say?
No, I went last year once.
Oh, okay. I said 2 years, but still.
Okay, so this handle, this is this thing I'm talking about with the silhouette where there's a line that comes out of that spout and comes down through the handle or through the lip and then comes out and around. And you know, this is like, it just is in my mind, it's asking for a handle right here, right? You can maybe have a handle coming up off the butt here like that. This is the butt. It could be like that. That might be a nice solution to it, but usually, the form will really suggest where it's where it wants to be. You should always feel like it's not really done until you get the handle on it.
How much play have you gone through so far?
Not very much,
No?
right? Look, there's still a couple of boxes. Still
Yeah.
got a couple of boxes to go.
Yeah.
You gotta wedge it up for you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you haven't used that giant bat I got for you yet.
I know.
We were all really excited when the bat arrived. I'm like, okay, I can't wait to see the mix on that. So
Yeah,
it's still a virgin bat.
Should always try and make sure you put it on straight too. Kind of straight anyway. You don't want too straight though. I'm a big fan of pulling the handle off of the pot, most of the pots, because I just think you can get a more kind of fluid line with it. And of course, you know, whenever you first start practicing this, you pull them off the pot all the time. That's just a part of the process. But one of the things that can be helpful is if you attach it and then just let the glue set. So just let it sit for a minute, and then you can come back and pull it a little bit more. But also, one of the other things I want people to notice is that I'm taking great care to keep this pretty straight, right? I'm not going to let it flop over until I want it to flop over. You know, for centuries now, I've been interested in this. Like, I really want this line to come out and be continuous, and that arc to be really continuous like that. And then recently I've been kind of thinking about it a little bit differently, where, you know, this is one solution like that, but then I'm liking this thing where you can take this whole handle and kind of squeeze it up like that and change the shape of it a little bit. So that's not quite right yet. But I got my cat licking license. I can play around with this a little bit more.
Oh, that's beautiful too. Gorgeous.
But there's,
Counterbalances.
yeah, and it kind of, it's more comfortable. I mean, that fits your hand. It has a way of fitting the hand in a way that's a little bit different too. So, I mean, they're both possibilities, I think, that can happen. Yeah. So now it's still attached to the bat. Now we'll attach the bat to the wheel. Good idea. Trim it just a little bit here on the bottom. I just like to put that little edge down here on the bottom just because maybe that will catch some glaze that's trying to run off my pot onto the shelf or something. But it also just, it kind of helps define the bottom so there's a little bit of a definition on the bottom of it. And then the last thing we do is cut it off.
On the floor.
Oh, is it on the floor? I've also got this one. I found this one. This little sharp edge right there,
That one.
I always try and soften that edge up. And I just do it with spit. Spit's a good way to do this.
So this is your stamp, huh? Let's see.
Are you gonna put your stamp in them
I'm looking at
soon?
the stamp here.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
There, just like that.
Nice.
Gorgeous, gorgeous.